Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I hope you are having a restful weekend, and so glad to have you on this call today. So as you're aware, today we'll be having an Ask Me Anything session with our boss, our respectful and respected boss in data engineering. I mean, if you're in data engineering space in Nigeria specifically, and you don't know Pascal Chukwemeka, then probably you need to do, your homework very well. So he's someone I personally, respected a lot. He has a lot of hot takes on data engineering concept and topics on LinkedIn. So yeah, so we'll be having a close conversation with him today, and I'm very sure, I'm really excited about this one. So I'm very sure we are going to learn a lot from him. We are going to, gain tips, career advices, and all from Pascal today. So to kickstart properly, so myself, I'm Najeeb Sulaiman, and I'm currently a data engineer working at Jaguar Land Rover UK. I'm also the founder of the data engineering community, so which simply means I'm the number one servant for the community. And data engineering community is a community funded out of, giving visibility to data engineering and helping people, especially beginners, to, start data engineering. The learning curves and overall data engineering, getting to the engineering stuff is already overwhelming. So we want to be able to give people platform, to leverage on, to be confident, to ask questions. And it's not just for beginners, it's also for, professional data engineers, experienced data engineers. So a platform where we can collaborate together, ask questions, get insights, rub minds together, and help each other grow. And yeah, that's the essence of the community. And we've been existing for more than a year. So I'm giving all this background for people that are joining us for the first time so that you know what the platform is all about and why we are doing this. So again, we have Pascal Chukwemeka here. So Pascal Chukwemeka is currently the Chief Technology Officer at Wowzy, so which is an influencer marketing SaaS platform. So he currently leads the technology strategy, system, and innovation there. And he has over 15 years of experience in data and software engineering. You can imagine. I told you right. You are going to learn a lot. So yeah, so he has also been working across different industries and spanning different domains. So his wealth of experience is actually very, very solid. So before we dive into the main business, so I'll just give Pascal a moment to share something with us, maybe introduction and all, before we kickstart properly. Pascal, thank you so much again. Before you go ahead, let me just use this medium to appreciate you. I mean, for giving us time out of your busy schedule to honor this invitation. It's something we really appreciate. In fact, we are really grateful for this. So we appreciate your kind gestures towards this community. So thank you so much for coming. Before we start properly, I don't know if you have anything to say to everybody on this call.
Hey, thanks, Najib. Thanks, everyone, for having me. I mean, anything data, especially data engineering, is something I'm always interested to talk about, especially interacting with other people, younger guys who are trying to get into this, who feel it's confusing and stuff. I think I've given a good introduction of myself, so I won't take any more time so that we can go into the business of the day. Hopefully, all the questions I'm able to answer them. Once I don't know, I will tell you categorically I don't know them because I keep learning. That's my biggest skill, I think. So back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that brief introduction. So I think one thing I appreciate is, and I have observed people that are very intelligent, people that have wealth of knowledge, they always admit they don't know all. And that's one of the character of someone that is really proficient, someone that is really experienced. You always see them saying it that I don't know everything, even though they know much. So we are going to, we understand. I mean, but the question I believe will be something we'll be able to, do justice to. So thank you so much once again for joining us on this call. And for everybody joining us, thank you for joining the call. So we kickstart. So the way so that I will just give you a background of how we are going to flow. So we have some default questions which we believe everybody will benefit from. So, and these questions are categorized into different sections. And after that, we have a range of questions that have been asked by people who are registering for this webinar. So a lot of people have registered some questions which are maybe personal to them. And I think most of them are career-based. So then we go into that as well. Then we give room for people that want to ask their question directly on this call as well to also be able to ask that question. Please, let's make it interactive. Is a conversation, so it's not it's not something really official like that. So it's conversation. So you just want to learn from him. I mean, one of the best way to learn is to learn from someone that has walked the path. So that way you are able to adopt anything that I've done well, and while also avoiding the mistakes they've made while moving on that journey, so that you can move fast and move with less mistakes. So, Pascal, so I'm starting with a very simple one. I mean, to just set the tone of the conversation. So, to you, what is data engineering? How will you define data engineering?
Okay, yeah. So I was expecting this one. So I tried to get some analogies or some allegory. So imagine imagine you want to move from mile 2. Something tells me I have more Lagosians here than not. So when I say mile, they follow. So I mean, it's a matter of you want to get from location 1 to location 2. Let's say you're going from mile 2 all the way to Ushodi, right?
Yeah.
How do you get there? You have a carton of whatever, a carton of milk. You want to move from mile 2 to Oshodi. The question is, how do you best get there? How you best get there is going to be determined by a number of factors, right? The time of the day we affect it, the day of the week we affect it, even the season of the year we affect it. And it's all about the traffic you have around. And after considering these things, you now try to consider the vehicle you are going to convey this along with. You can either walk, you can go on a bike, you can go by a keke, in a small car, and you can actually go in a bulldozer, right? You see why I'm making this allegory. And you can decide to go on just your regular motorway in Lagos, right? Whatever takes you from mile 2 to Oshodi, that's the most effective one. What you lose on the way, what you gain, if you are fast enough, if you drop some on the way, you find out by the time you get to the destination, it's no longer the thing you started with that you ended up there. Those are the things that will tell you whether you arrived in good condition. So that's data engineering. You're moving data from one place to the other. The conditions are going to be different, like sometimes so drastically different that you forget, you will not remember that it's actually the data that you're moving. So that's data engineering for me. And it goes today, I see that there are a lot of tools. There are millions and millions of tools. Okay, not millions, actually. I mean, several tools, so much tools that there are tools that you call today, and even myself will not know it. And what you will find today is that I'm not your traditional data engineer, right? I'm not your traditional data engineer in the sense that I try to avoid tools. Some places I've met tools. I retired them. I love to use that word retire because I find that they do two things to you. One, establish a cost center you can't quite control. You don't see it usually when you are coming up, right? You're about the tools, go after them, do this with this, do this with that, until the lead of your team or your CTO gets questioned, how come data is spending 500, 1,000, 2,500 just on data engineering? And then you start looking at them like you are lost, right? So the tools make you get a cost lock-in. That's number one. Number two is that over-tooling also makes you have limited, how do I put it? You cannot build bespoke solutions. You can only do things the way the tools make you do them. And that way you don't even realize that you're being very inefficient. So you buy a tool that does 100 things and you're buying it just for 2 things out of the 100. That it feels like so much of a waste. There are times tools will get you up fast and running, and at the end of the day, towards maturity, tools may not get you there. So depending on what you are doing, there is no single solution for data engineering. The best solution for you is the solution that will work best for you, effectively and the most cost efficient. That's data engineering for me.
Oh, nice. Thank you for that. Even those extensive but still brief discussion about data engineering. So I like the fact that you are not mentioning a particular tool or a particular infrastructure, a particular skill, or a particular. I mean, you don't want to,
No, don't start a fight. I know.
Yeah, I like that fact that you don't specifically mention, but you just give us the background of what it is and using a very analogy that we can all relate to. So I have some questions in regards to that, but so that we don't jump the way I've structured the default question, so I'll just still maintain the introductory part. Yeah, because it's tempting to jump. I want to ask you some questions, but I'll just stick to the introductory part so that we have structure for this conversation. So how did you? I mean, the whole data engineering journey for you, how did it all started? I mean, how do you start this data engineering journey?
I would say I actually did real data engineering with a team of people before even data engineering was a thing, right? It was just me looking back and I was like, that was data engineering we're actually doing there. Okay. So, but I mean, my story about getting into data engineering is similar to my story about getting into tech and getting into a lot of things around computers. Just curiosity. It was just about curiosity. I started learning the Python programming language. I actually taught myself because I've not been in a single STEM class, not to talk of any CS class. It's just interest, right? But something was pushing that interest. So I think it's more of, if I say why I picked the Python programming language, it was just not totally without a reason. But I asked myself, who do you want to be like, or who inspires you? And I remember then the Google team, Larry and Sergey, they were very young guys then. They were below 25 years, right? Because I mean, I'm sort of an old man now. You can see white hair everywhere, right? And I was like, what's the language these guys are using? And I found out it was Python. That was just why I picked Python. It's just incidental that Python was this way. So that's the same way I started data engineering. And how it started was actually that on an on-prem situation somewhere in Lagos, Nigeria, we had to make data available for analytics, especially, and we are supporting a CX department. It was very funny that data was attached to a CX department. I mean, it's almost unheard of, right? Yeah, but you could understand because the CX was very important to drive sales. And the truth is, any business you are doing today, if there's no sales, just go home because there's nothing is going to work, right? But sometimes you think tech is everything. If you don't sell, you are going home. Yeah. So it was understandable that it drove CX. So we found ourselves having to extract data from a core system that was problematic even for the engineers handling them. So I took around 3 months trying to figure out how the database was. And I understood that engineers come and go because the DB was not even in English language. People had to travel somewhere in Europe to learn to interact with DB. So it was a hell almost. And then I mean that was the environment I started it. And right from the time we were moving data from that DB to somewhere where that was going to be our warehouse, we tried Azure Synapse initially, and we understood that we just can't go to the cloud. It was very funny. I made a case for it. I couldn't win. We had to settle for MySQL on-prem. So, I mean, I started and finished it, and honestly, I wasn't taking data engineering. I was looking back that I now realized, okay, we were actually doing data engineering there because we built it from scratch, pure Python, no single tool. And I think that sort of position how I saw data engineering going forward.
Nice. So it's safe to say data engineering found you.
Yeah, I think so. It just got thrown on me. I didn't even know.
So I think our story is quite similar. So I didn't quite start data engineering intentionally. It found me as well. So I was doing core software engineering, but I was dealing more with the data. Then I found out a term called data engineering that suits what I was doing. Yeah. So interesting. That's really good to know. But so going on still on introduction. So how will you describe your data engineering journey so far? I mean, your career in data engineering so far.
I don't consider myself in data engineering again. Right? I consider myself retired, but I still love to dabble into anything data engineering. I mean, if you just go to my to my LinkedIn profile, you will see. I mean, my journey around data just was like within months, right? It's usually coming to a setting where something was very difficult to solve, right? And somebody calls you in and say, "Hey, can we do this?" And I mean, if you know me, you know that if it's difficult, that's where I love to be. So I came in, solved the initial streaming problem that was there. My first solution actually cost 1,500 USD. I'll never forget that, just to keep the pipe open. No data throughput yet. and I tore it down myself because I knew I couldn't. I mean, I saw the card that paid it the first month, but I knew I can't survive it the second, third month, so I had to restart it again. And by the time I finished, it was costing like less between 30 to 50 USD. So what I find is that wherever there is an issue to solve, I love to be there. And once, if you are lucky, if it's a progressive environment who appreciates results, right? You just see yourself moving on. And one of the other things would be not just for, this is what I found as for my career as a data engineer, then is eat the frog for your boss, right? Find that most difficult thing the thing that is holding them by the throat, so to say. Solve it, you are going up. There's no way. You can't stay where you are. You just keep going up. So that's my experience around data engineering.
Wow, interesting. Interesting. So now you are more of the managerial side, managing team, architectures, and rather than doing the core data engineering stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not even just like that. I think it's more of strategy, because that's
strategy. Yeah, that's the word. That's the word, strategy. Yeah, thank you. Okay, it's clear. I mean, we all advance. Yeah, and that's what we wish for. We want to progress in our career, move to different higher positions. So since we are talking about strategy now, so how does data engineering itself support decision-making organizations?
I think I would rather ask you, how do you make a decision without data? And if you can't make a decision without data, I think data, that means you can't even survive without data engineering, right? What you find is that those of us who started data engineering or doing things that appear to be data centered, you find that companies will usually hire analysts for data analysts initially, or just snap on data scientists, right? One PhD from somewhere, a bunch of, several $1,000. 6 months, everybody's tired because they find out the data is not even there. Okay, and that I understand. I understand that's why analytics engineering, for example, became a thing, because your regular analyst will struggle with data engineering, because data engineering will tend to be close to software engineering. As far as I'm concerned, data engineering is software engineering on data, as simple as that. That's the way to view it, and you can conquer almost every pipeline you want to build. So it usually comes from there, and people now realize that they need data engineering. So if you don't have data engineering, decisions don't even start, right? I mean, good luck with your gut decisions, but at the end of the day, you find out you have to start from square one.
Okay, so it's safe to say data engineering is like the backbone of any data-driven decision making.
I mean, that's the start of it, right? People would say which is most important, data engineering, data analytics, or data science, and other things down the pipeline. For me, it's not the most important. For me, it's where does it start, right? Number one is not always the most important. They all work together, but you have to start from data engineering. And even before data engineering, some other thing happens that is very critical. What's value for the company? What's the company doing? That's what's going to determine even what the data engineer will do. You don't just start evaluating data simply because you have the tools, you have the skills to start moving. You might finish it off, and at the end of the day, analysts have nothing to work with. Scientists have nothing to work with. So it starts first of all with the requirements, understanding the environment you are. Once you understand it, then you know what to go after, and from there, data engineering starts.
Yeah, and that's supports the whole ecosystem of data-driven decision making, in terms of ensuring the quality data is available for use. Yeah. Okay. So data engineering has evolved, from many years ago. So what are there any current trends you see in data engineering today?
Tools. Sometimes I'm amazed by how many tools we have. And some of these tools will wake up and tell you, that thing that used to be $1 an hour is now $3. I mean, good luck. There's nothing you can do. You're locked in, right? So the evolution I've seen is a whole lot of tools, and people who know me here will smile if I say this now. So for me, there are data engineers and there are data plumbers, right? I see a whole lot of plumbers, and I think it's because the engineering is going away from the data, right? The several tools that we have. I mean, don't misunderstand me. If it works for you, keep doing it, right? If the cost you can manage it, just keep going. If it works, usually you don't want to stop it. I mean, I think that's the a life maxim. Don't touch what's working. But if you have to start afresh, if you have to start from scratch, that's usually some of the things. I mean, any engineer knows that working from scratch is the best place to be. Updating or managing what some other person did can be helped, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the trend I see is a lot of tools and people doing it because a whole lot of analysts are going into that space without trying to become engineers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to see. They should keep doing that, but I tell you that people who are going to actually make a mark are people who would want to do the engineering part of it. It's not always fun, but it can be very rewarding.
So just to clarify, so the engineering part of it, I mean, I know you are not saying you shouldn't use tools. I mean, you still need tools to get things done. But the engineering part of it, are you saying rather than using an existing tool to kind of do a work or do a task, perform a task, we should engineer from scratch? Is that what you're trying to say? Or where do you draw the line to, okay, fine, say I'm engineering from scratch, or I'll just use a tool that is already existing and just go for it, even though I have to pay for it? How do you
Yeah.
make the balance?
Yeah. So if you remember when I was making that analogy about going from Mile 2 to Oshodi, it's not just, there's some things you just can't do. You come in and there's heavy traffic, right? Riding with your car is going to be a mistake. You just have to walk. That's the only way you can get there most effectively, right? So it depends on what you find on ground. If you come to a system where you have a lot of tools already working and working good, you know that the only problem is cost and I mean solution locking, right? You do it the way these guys allow you to do it. I mean, there's not much you can do, just support it and keep going. But if I'm there and there's no system already in place, I'm building it from scratch.
Oh, nice. So I believe there are many factors. I mean, as you said, there are many factors that surround that and influence your decision to start from scratch, maybe in terms of time and every other thing that may influence your decision. But I understand your perspective in terms of engineering. I mean, doing it and saving cost and making sure you have full access and full maintenance opportunity on your infrastructure, not having to rely on third parties to get some things done when you can do it yourself. So yeah, that's clear. But talking about tool again, so are there any particular tool you currently find exciting in data engineering, like that you find really exciting? Maybe your go-to tools.
Should I disappoint you or should I just tell you?
Don't tell me none.
I mean, none, simply
Wow.
because I've not used them, right? Like I'm being real. I've not used any one of them. And yes, you can say that's the bias there because if I use it, I will fall in love with them or I see why people use them. But I've been in situations where people use it and I see the outcome. And I've come where I met one and I totally took it home. And it was so effective and with cost effective. I mean, it's not just about the cost, right? My main drive is that you make it work, right? For any pipeline for me, feasibility is key, alerting is key, and of course that the end product is what you want it to be, right? Once I have these three things in order, I'm good to go. So I specifically made an airflow job on an EC2 machine. I removed the EC2 machine and took it was coincidental, right? If it was working and I left it, but we had to change some stuff. And airflow can punish you sometimes, right? I tried my best to fix this thing, and I found myself waking up every night just to restart the daemon. And I told myself, no, there's no way I can keep doing this. What I did was to rewrite the whole system, and instead of running on Airflow, I used Event Bridge on AWS, and I was just putting it was working perfectly. And we shut down a single machine, right? A whole EC2 machine now being served by just a Lambda that costs 4 times. Exactly. I mean, direct, you see it.
Yeah. So I'm disappointed. Just to let you know that I'm not mentioning any particular ones. But it's fine. Yeah. It's fine. You got the message. So moving on. So now moving on to data pipeline design and best practices. So what are the key considerations in designing a robust and efficient data pipeline?
Back to that story again. you have to look at your condition, look at the condition around you. There are some things that mean that you just can't do this or that. If you are going to do a streaming pipeline, the architectural considerations are way different from if you are going to do full loads. I don't even want to believe there's any company doing full loads today, unless they just have 1 MB, right? So you can either do a full load, you can do incremental loads, or you can do streaming pipeline. Rushing to streaming pipeline without having a need for it is a waste of time. Most companies will do with incremental loads, right? Where you just go to get things that have changed and just insert new inserts and things that have changed. So it will be best to give a situation before I will now start talking of any architecture. Your source system will have to come in. The velocity of your data will have to come in. How fresh you need data or not, it will have to come in. For example, the first stream pipeline I did had to support a request system, right? A transaction company. People needed to know that the request has been made, and if there's any change to the status of the request, they need to know, and as fast as possible. When you face a situation where you need fresh data, fresh to live data, you are streaming. If you're not streaming, you are 1 hour or how many the interval between your loads, that's how late you are. And sometimes 1 hour can be disastrous. Things have already gone bad. So architecture is going to be determined by what you are trying to achieve, the type of data you are moving, how fast it is, how big it is.
Okay. So copy that. So it depends. It depends on the situation surrounding the kind of pipeline you're trying to build. So, but however, still on that. So, do you have any best practices you want to share to kind of, summarize this whole data pipeline performance optimization?
Okay.
You have a pipeline that is not efficient, you want to optimize it, something like that.
Okay. So again, how do you first of all, how do you even measure efficiency, effectiveness in a pipeline? So if you know what to measure, that's when you will now figure out, do you want to optimize or do you even have an opportunity for optimization? I will look at a number of metrics. One is the actual outcome. Can downstream use it? It's as simple as that. Downstream is analytics and data science. Can these guys use it? Do they have to write? So I used to have, not that I used to have, I still have it, this notion that if your analysts are writing SQL, your data engineer is broken, right? Many people don't agree with it. They say you're able to write SQL and stuff like that. If for my system, for my team, if analysts are writing SQL, something is off in the data pipeline. It means it's not coming as it should. The data engineer just, well, let me not go too much into details. I mean, some tools now allow you to build what they call models and stuff like that. Okay, that's where you see that the most hopeless SQL queries, right? Costing you money, not effective and stuff like. Yeah, I can be very decorative with my.
I know the two you are mentioning. Don't worry.
Don't call any names, right? So,
I know.
So the thing is, if your data engineering is right, your analysts just need to do their exploration and build reports, right? Support decision making. That's how I see
it. Okay. So still you are giving us like a general overview, not trying to confine it to a specific scenario, right? So
that's what engineering is. There's no single way. Again, that's one of the challenges I see. Everybody feels like if you have not put 1,000 tools together in a beautiful drawing, you're not doing it. It's not true.
Yeah.
Your most effective, it's like your solution is about the environment you have. That's why, for example, we have democracy in Africa and it's not working. You just pick some stuff, hook, line, and sinker, you want it to work. There are pure cultural situations can actually alter your engineering. They look like they don't even relate, but your operations and everything. So try to figure out what's happening around you. There are general maxims or general things you need to do, but your actual situation actually makes you do a particular thing over the other. And I think I just remember that I didn't answer your question. You're talking about optimization, right? Because when it comes to data engineering, so many things come up that could take you away. So, but if you want me to still continue with it, I think I was saying that effectiveness is what is not my number one yardstick. So if your analysts cannot easily use it, Your data scientist cannot easily use it. I mean, easy is relative. It doesn't have to be 100%, but if they can go straight and start using it, your pipeline is good, right? That's number one. Number two, do you know what's running when, right? This is where I would tend to give credit to tools, right? There are tools that give you pure visibility. How many times did your pipeline run? Did anything drop and stuff like that? So once you have good visibility, that's a measure to tell you that everything is working fine. And then thirdly, alerting. When something goes wrong, who becomes aware? Pipelines are such that sometimes when they are down, I remember some pipelines we are chasing every weekend. I mean, like village people, they're always at work during the weekend, right? During the week, nothing is wrong. So is it usable? So I will look at three metrics. If my analysts are having to write a lot of SQL and they are complaining about not being able to get this or get that, then there's something wrong. If I can't go to a system and tell you that I evacuated 500 MB every hour across this number of tables, something is off, because that's when you know which system is running slow, where you have optimization opportunities. And then finally, when something goes wrong, does anybody get alerted, right? Do you roll back? Do you try to reschedule and stuff like that? Those three metrics are what I would look at to see if data engineering is working.
Wow, nice, thank you. So just picking one point from there, the alerting and metrics. So for someone like you that, I mean, some are biased about tools. So, and you know, one of the advantage of these tools is their, you know, inbuilt alerting, monitoring, built-in monitoring tools, I mean, in the tools itself. So how do you monitor, and you know, you're monitoring your logging of the pipeline, how do you handle it?
Good. I mean, these tools that give you monitoring and alerting, right? You know they were written by somebody, right? We are just trying to take what. So I mean, write to Slack, write to email, write to SMS, write to anything, right? I mean, the program like just Python programming language, almost every program has a way to plug into the system that you know your people, that your SRE or whoever is on call is going to get. I mean, drop your stuff there. Login is very easy to do and stuff like that. These other ones give you a more structured way of doing things and stuff like that. I give it to them like 100%. They've invested in doing this, and that's something, yeah, exactly. But still, you are able to build it into. Any engineer that has worked close to me will know that I tell you that if your script is running and is not saying what it's doing, it doesn't help, right? You have a script that starts a job that could stay for 3,000 milliseconds, and it just stays there. It's not saying starting this, doing this and doing that. Something is up, because you don't even know when something goes wrong. So you can build those things. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Because I know it's a very important aspect of the data pipeline design. It's very important because you just have to get that visibility, know where something is wrong, and be proactive rather than reactive. So I just want to, so that's why I asked that question, to get more insight on how.
Very critical. Yeah, it's very critical, and especially when you have several tools connecting together.
Exactly.
Yeah, but if you have very smooth stuff, right? Like there is, I don't know whether we'll get a chance to talk about a Python module we have worked on. I mean, I've been able to deploy this to an AWS Lambda, and all you need to do is to look at the Lambda logs, because it connects to the source, does the transformation, and writes the destination. But if I had a Mongo source, I have this one to connect to it, a second one to connect to that one, take it to one data lake or the other, take it. I mean, you see that what the things you have to run after. I mean, you have too many things to run after. Yeah.
So. Okay. So now on tools and technologies. So how do you decide on the right technology stack for a specific data engineering project?
It's very easy for me because I'm biased. Python. Next question.
Let's remove your bias. Let's approach it generally.
Yeah. So and that's why I started with that I'm not your regular data engineer, right? Because why I keep insisting on that is that suddenly you look back into your Airflow system, and just like a microservice out of Netflix, you can't even figure out what you're doing again, right? And good luck to that engineer that joins the team newly and has to try to understand these things. simplicity always saves you at the end of the day. So apart from Python, what else have I seen? So there are things again that determine what I use. So by default, I will want to use Python 1, 2. If there's a serverless option, I am there. I try to go serverless before any other thing. So having said that, you will see me trying to get things together this way, because a pipeline is all about doing the job. So Python does the job for me, but I will need an orchestrator, right? Because I don't do the airflows and stuff like that. You will see me on AWS. I'm going to use EventBridge, set up my cron there, and it's running, right? I mean, these things should be straightforward. No, let me not say easy. Have a function that connects to a system to write to the other from a source to a destination, right? I mean, you can't transport more than data. You are not transporting human beings here. It's still that data.
Right? You want to go from my 12 to the other place you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, you just
you use EventBridge to transport yourself from my 2.
I mean, so the funny thing is that moving from mile 2 to Oshodi, one thing will always work if you think about it. If I should ask you, walking will always take you there, but a car will not always take you there, right? So that's a lot of people will be disappointed. They will be trying to come to learn this tool that this is they want to use over that, but that's just me. I'm the engineer in the house, so to say, right? Walking is like that scripting your solution. Walking will work on a free day when the traffic is not high. Walking will work on a day traffic is high. But there are days you come out and the traffic is light. I mean, by all means, take your transportation that makes it faster for you. So that's why I'm saying, look at your situation and find the best thing to do.
Okay. So that's a summary. So look at your situation, analyze it, and choose the best strategy that works for you based on the available skill set in the team and tools and all. Yeah. Okay. So this one, I know this one. There's no friends for you here, so yeah. you have to remove your bias. So we have different data pipeline design types: ETL, ELT. Now, what is the difference? Which is your favorite and why? No bias.
Okay, no bias. So, just know that about my bias is usually towards efficiency, right? If you find me sitting somewhere, any day you find me something more effective, I'm leaving it. I'm not the guy that sits on the place and refuses to move from there. No, you just have to convince me. That's all you need to do.
You are not loyal.
Yeah, I'm loyal to where I buy my rice in Nairobi, for example, because that guy makes very good food, right? Anywhere I go, I'm calling. But when it comes to tools and solutions, I like effectiveness to lead me where I should be going, right? So ETL versus ELT. ETL, extract, transform, and load. It's as simple as that. Pick it from here, transform it first, and load to a destination where it will be used. The other way is ELT, extract it, load it somewhere, and transform it. The tools will most likely, would tend to make you do ELT. Again, I have strong opinion about ELT versus ETL. Why do ELT? You see that most people do ELT simply because that's what the tools make you to do. Okay? ELT, practically for me, would come in where you have enormous, gigantic amount of data. You find it in two situations. One is where there is no guide, where there's no requirements when data engineers are working. They are just everything out. So they usually want to put it in a data lake, right? You will likely not find a data lake in my design, like none. Data lakes for me will usually come in streaming pipelines, so I can use them to do my SDLC, right? Slowly changing dimension, SDC, right? So ELT, I see it working when you have a lot of data that you need to really calm down, like we say, calm down and look at something and do the next stuff. If you are not moving up to 2 gig, if you're not moving up to 10 gig and stuff like that, what's the business you're doing with ELT? Why are you having to pay for that extra storage as your data lake and then have extra skills and extra possible confusion trying to build your models? It works, but you really don't need it when you don't need it. So my advice is usually, if your data is not so big, because when we look at engineering practices from Google, from Microsoft, who have been years and can commit billions to different tools and to their technology costs. And you have a company that has 100 people, right? 50 persons, one data engineer, and you're trying to buy all the tools that Microsoft uses. That's always the challenge there, right? So ELT is that you are loading it before you transform. ETL is you are transforming before you load. If you don't have a lot of data, by all means, transform your data and then take it to destination. That way, analysts and scientists have a little less hard time to work with things.
Okay. So it's safe to say you go for ETL over ELT.
Yes, given the conditions I gave.
Yeah,
right?
I understand. Because there's trade-offs as well. There's sometimes ETL will not just solve your problem. You just have to go for ELT. And there's sometimes ELT will not solve, you just have to stick to ETL. But if you have the option, you go for ETL. Okay, yeah, that's well noted. And it's also good to also know the distinction between these two. So I know you are not a tool person, but are there any lesser known tools that you find particularly useful? Just to ask, maybe not really popular tool, but you have found the tool handy over the course of engineering pipeline. Is there anyone?
Oh, this one is not actually a data tool that data engineers will know, like the more popular ones. But I have, what's it, Jeremy, I've forgotten his last name, on LinkedIn, actually introduced me to something called NAS, right? Notebook as a Service. And the first time I saw it, it was really, I don't know whether you've come across, the Jeremy I'm referring to. I don't know by any chance if it's here. I find it interesting, right? Why? Because it's your regular notebook that they take and make it a service. NAS is just NAAS, Notebook as a Service. So why it's interesting to me, I mean, you understand why it's interesting to me, because I still have my code, my script that does exactly what I want it to do on the notebook, and I'm able to somehow power this notebook to become automated. I mean, to run in a cron and stuff like that. So that's a little known one. It's not just for data, it's not just for a pipeline. I mean, you can actually do any automation that you want with it. So that's what I will mention, yes.
Okay. I mean, NAS. You look it up after the call. Yeah. So moving on, I think I'm also looking at time, so I want us to run through this one so that we can go to the career section. I think most people want to get advice on careers. Yeah, so just to run through these ones as well, because I think they are also important. So cloud, everything is cloud now. So what are the advantages of using cloud platforms for data engineering tasks?
Not like every other engineering endeavor beyond data engineering, the cloud will tend to give you a better advantage, at least initially. Again, your situation will have to tell you. You can see there is a little, appears to be a trend where people are moving away from the cloud, right? They're even saying AWS, there is an AWS service that even going away from the cloud, so cloud is not working and stuff like that. Don't be distracted very fast. Right? Once you have irregular loads that you know the times you want to run them, the cloud will tend to give you an advantage, right? I mean, you don't have to provision infrastructure, you don't have to scale by yourself and stuff like that. Pay as you use. And that's why, for example, somebody like me will go towards serverless anytime. So I see cloud still being very relevant, and these guys are actually listening to engineers and trying to figure out what they're trying to do and giving us more and more solutions, so much so that we can't get away from these guys. Yeah. But when your loads become very bespoke and large, you might find that the cloud becomes too costly for you. Not that it won't work again. Cloud will always tend to work, right? But when you see that the cost of it no longer makes business sense, you're becoming too large, then that's why people start going off to cloud.
Okay. So in the sense that cloud kind of give you that leverage in terms of upfront infrastructure, right? And you have
setup, maintenance, and all that. I mean, you want your engineer to write your code. I mean, you don't want to think out with all this networking stuff.
Abstract a lot of layers, updates, backup, everything is done for you. So you just have to write your code and deploy and get bid for it.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. Try to do your best to control it, because you know that meme that says what sent him to the village or something like that, right? He left one machine on AWS, and that was
Oh
it.
no, yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, you don't want to be
That's
there.
costly.
Yes, you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
run away from that account.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of organizations are spending so much on cloud. I can't even imagine how much some big organizations are spending on cloud cost
You have
alone.
no idea, especially
Oh
if you're
no,
Nigerian and you wake up and the naira is there with the
oh
dollar and
no.
no extra service, you just cry.
But still on cloud, it seems with the current rates at which data is growing and the current trends in data engineering, it seems you can't just do let's scalable data engineering without cloud. Is it possible to do scalable data engineering without cloud? I mean, if you have the money, you can set up your own private cloud. I mean, have your own infrastructure, servers in-house, on-premises servers and all. But not many organizations can even afford that upfront cost. So, and
Exactly.
even if you can afford it, the cost of skill of personnel to manage the infrastructure for you, setups, backups, maintenance, update, and all. So it seems data engineering currently cannot do without cloud. So it seems we are locked in already.
Exactly. It just makes it that easier for everyone to just do it. Yes, yes, it makes it that much easier.
So yeah, moving on because of time. So how do you envision the future of data engineering evolving in the coming years?
Will data engineering be
Mm,
seriously affected by, say, the LLMs, the chat GPTs and all the stuff? You're not going anywhere. I'm telling you directly, right? It's like core software engineering. It can only give you clues, give you tips and stuff like that. But that thing, just like I told you, it depends on the situation around. If you try to find a solution through artificial intelligence, so to say, you find yourself, getting boxed into a situation, and one situation cannot solve it all for you. It can aid it. So evolution for me in data engineering is going to be more tools showing up incidentally, right? But it's not going to be who becomes more important than the other guys, because you see, it's like every 2 years there is a concept in data engineering in particular that comes up, right, around
yeah.
schema, around visibility. People are struggling to say what's more important than the other, whereas we are talking about moving bits from one section to the other. That's all we are talking about. So evolution for me is going to be who gives you more power to do things exactly the way you do it. Bespoke solutions are all it's all about. And then also the one that gives you the best cost. But I don't see the end to the tooling anytime soon.
Okay, so we keep having more tools, keep evolving. Yeah, yeah. So still on that. So what skills do you think would be crucial for data engineers in the future? I mean, considering that we have AI doing some stuffs in data engineering and in other some professions. So what skills do you think will be crucial for data engineers in the future?
Problem solving. And
Okay.
to solve a problem, you need to understand the problem, the requirements. So we always lose sight of the requirement. At the end of the day, you are able to solve what you understand. You don't waste everybody's time, waste resources. The best data engineer is going to be the engineer that has an eye for detail. It's that little thing that makes the difference between the pipeline that stays on and the one that people are always running after. Problem
Mm,
solving, eye for detail.
okay, okay. Problem solving and having a very attention to detail, very good attention to detail. I think I like that two things. They are soft skills, not really hard skills. And most times everybody can get that hard skills easily, but the soft skills are the hard one to get. And if one
Yep.
can master those soft skills, one can really leverage on it and be different, be unique, and really skyrocket the career. Okay. So now we
I
move to
see
the
something as one of the important ones also is having base knowledge of things, right? Let me give you a very pure example, because this is what I found to have helped me a lot. What what does a system do by nature, so to say? So let me say I want to I want to build a streaming pipeline, and the origin is Mongo. What are the capabilities of Mongo? It's like the documentation for Mongo. Have you gone to see what Mongo can do? Are you aware that Mongo can emit events can emit data on different events, inserts, upserts, delete, and stuff like that? Since I'm doing streaming, can I just tap into those events? And that means I'm up to date at every point in time. So, and you see that it's eye for detail that's going to help you there. So, knowing the base working of things makes you able to use them in ways that even the guys that made it have not envisioned. And somewhere where I am today, I have people saying that once your solution is being used in ways you didn't envision it, then you really have a good product.
Yeah, nice. I like that. And I also like again, just to reiterate, the problem solving is very important because you won't have the job if there is no problem to solve. So,
Exactly. That
so your priority is to solve problem as a data engineer or as any data professional. You are there to solve problem. So and you have to up your problem solving skills to be able to provide solutions. And that's when the more problem you are able to solve, I mean, the more value you get for yourself and the more reward you get. So I think I agree with you on that. So again, moving on to the career session. So a lot of people ask questions and in terms of career, and there are a lot of questions around how will you advise someone starting a career in data engineering? How can they start? So, but I'll just reframe this one. It's just about how can someone start a career in data engineering. So I'll just reframe the question to you, Pascal Chukwuemeka. If you had to start over today and you want to venture into data engineering, how would you go about it?
I've never thought about it that way, but it's an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah.
So let me answer this. Let me tell you what I found to have worked for me. Right. Visibility comes up for me. All of us here, I don't know how much harder it is today to get a job or to break into tech, but I know that growing up, I used to buy this Guardian newspaper every Thursday. There are openings for jobs, right? I kept applying and applying and applying. The best I got was an invitation that I went. I saw it felt like 1,000 people at the gate. I didn't even get into this. I just went home. If they asked me how did it go, I told that very well. I'm very hopeful. I didn't even enter the premises. So, but what I found to have been useful was coming to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really very good. We don't realize how much good can come from LinkedIn, right? I always say people are watching. So what will I do different, or how will I approach it? I will be visible on LinkedIn. And that is after I've learned my skills, right? I mean, I'm taking it that having the skills is basic, but the skills alone will not take you anywhere, unfortunately, right? Because if you are Maradona today and you are somewhere in your village, no opportunity will meet you there. Exactly. Somebody has to see you. So become proficient, show up. Sometimes what I even do, I go to events. I'm not an outgoing person. It's only when you come close to me, you see I can talk a lot, right? But if you see me from afar, you usually want to avoid me because you say this guy, you also know they even talk, right? So network, show what you know. Don't be the I agree type of person. Disagree when you will, and give your reasons. People are watching what you're doing, right? Put in a lot of free work, so to say, free in parentheses. Go for internships, even if you are 101 years, but you have not broken in. Internships might be the sure way that you are going to get in. Find opportunities to eat the frog for someone who is important around you. It always gets people through. It's not just data engineering, all tech, all life. If you solve a problem somebody is worried about, they will pick you up. So show yourself, show that you are valuable. Think of your class today. If I tell you that there's a party, you know the guy we need to go to if there's a party.
Yes.
If there's something to solve, you know the guy that we need to call, right? So be the guy we need to call when things are important and opportunities will find you. That's my own story. There's no magic to it. You have to give it time, but I see it working every time.
Okay. Oh, nice. I mean, interesting stuff. But just to be specific, so what are the specific skills or maybe courses or certifications you recommend for data engineers starter for an aspiring data engineer? Do you have any recommended courses, skills, or certifications?
With data engineer, start with knowing a programming language that works very well with data. You can't run away from it. Pick up Python, pick up Scala. What other one is good? Python and Scala things are the two guys I know do well, right? Once you have picked that up, start with moving files, different file formats. Once you start moving different files formats, if you finish with that, go into interacting with databases. And once you get there, you see that you can run away from SQL, for example.
Yeah.
Once you get these skills, every other thing you do in between, it's a matter of how good you put your Python or Scala or any other what do they call those type of languages? Scripting language.
Scripting language.
Yes. It's the way you use your scripting language or your tool or whatever you're using to interact with source data after understanding what the downstream is looking for and moving it across. So start with a programming language. If you want to be a data engineer, you cannot run away from it. Well, you can with the tools, right? But you will be very, very limited. You can use the tools, and your knowledge of a programming language actually make you see ways you can use that tool that no other person can actually use. So those are the things I would say are the basics for a data engineer to get through.
Oh, nice. So Python, Scala, SQL. So programming language, solve problem, SQL to interact with your source system and maybe destination system. Okay, nice, copy that. We didn't mention anything about certification, of course.
You are helping yourself. That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's something. Okay, so ask me today if I have a new data team and I'm looking to find talent. I'm not looking at your certification. Again, it might be because I was going to be a priest, right? I was just 2.5 to 3 years from Catholic priest. So my undergraduate was philosophy, right? If I did philosophy, I've not been in a single computer science class, and I'm here. I mean, I'm telling you, there's nothing stopping you. So all these years certifications, I really want to see what you can do. If you're a student and all that, but you still have time to deliver stuff, you have that drive. I'm picking you. I don't know any single certification that in data engineering that I will see today, okay, and say, okay, that guy might be good. I would take more seriously is this. If I see, for example, that you have Python badge on LinkedIn, for example, you have answered all those tricky questions. I will even take you more serious than if you tell me you have Databricks Super Ninja belt. Right? Anything is practical science. I'll ask you questions. I'll give you a solution to solve. And it's take home usually. I don't want to breathe down over here because there's never a job you're going to do with your CEO looking at you. All these ones that put a touchlight on you while you're doing those things, just go away. You have an option, of course. If you don't have an option, I mean,
yeah, that's the thing. If you don't get option, you don't get choice. So.
Don't get choice.
Okay, interesting. So to say, so master your skills. That's the most important thing. Certification, of course, is at your own choice. So yeah, I think certification most times is just to boost just to add more credibility to yourself, not necessarily to teach you A to Z of what you need to know to get things done. So still on career. So how important is continuous learning in the field of data engineering?
Can't do anything if you don't have continuous learning. I was reading about Grafana yesterday. I mean, I'm the type of CTO that I need to know what's going on, right? Not because I want to micromanage stuff, but because I want to make sure my engineers have everything they need. Well, one of your biggest problems is going to be having a team lead who doesn't even understand what the team does. You will go there and agree that something will be done in 3 days that should take 30 days. When you come back, everybody's running around. Like, I mean, that's. I think I've just derailed a little, but that's just how I
understand. I understand. And we are given a task. You are done with the pipeline, and you want to review with your boss, and your boss is just nodding it. Yes. Your boss is not making it.
For you to deploy it on Saturday night, everybody's running helter skelter. Or they even go and deploy things on a Friday. Like, I mean, what's wrong with you?
Okay, so continuous learning, you agree, is very, very important. I mean, you just keep learning. It's never ends.
It's not important. It's indispensable. Because you wake up tomorrow and they have changed the whole thing you thought you knew. Especially in data in core engineering, which I will consider also data engineering to be part of, and tech in general. Things are moving so fast that the only way to survive is just to keep learning.
Yeah. I agree with you. You just have to keep learning. Okay, so how important is software engineering skills in data engineering?
Let me take it from a scale of 1 to 100. And again, because I like to build my stuff, it has to be somewhere around 70%.
70.
The more you are proficient, software engineering is problem solving, simple and short. So the more problem solving capacity you have, the better you will tend to do with data engineering.
That's noted. So 70%. So is very much important.
Very, very important.
Okay. Okay. So but will you say now some people see data engineering or data engineers to be wearing multiple hats? You know, you have to know about data, you have to know about software, you have to do a bit of DevOps, have the domain knowledge. There's just so many things you need to do. Now you even need to know about machine learning as a data engineer, you know. So so it's just
An
overwhelming.
unstructured, yeah, it's just an unstructured it's an organizational problem, right? That's why, for example, analysts will start as analysts, find out they don't have data, they now have to use some tools to bring in their data because they just can't engineer these things, and it's none of their fault because this is actually not what they should be doing. So when you find a single person, one-man data team, if you're a data engineer, analyst, scientist, and stuff like that, it's just about the organization. There's no leadership there. Once there's leadership and it's fairly big, all these things will have to be, turned down into what they should be. For example, DevOps is DevOps. DevOps should do their stuff so that the data engineer, concentrates on his solution. Because you see a data engineer struggling so much with infrastructure, but at the end of the day, the code that works natively on his computer or whatever, try to take it to the cloud, everything fails. But that shouldn't even be his task. So it's an organizational problem. Once they understand the different parts that work together, they get all the talent they need and get things going.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's overwhelming for some beginners as well, because they keep saying, and because aside from the organizational problem, I think in a way, because of the organizational problem, so it's now becoming a norm for most of us. Excuse me, I think my PC is running low. I thought I plugged it in. Yeah, that would be disastrous if my PC goes off. Okay, yeah, it's back. Charging it now. So as I was saying, so now it's getting to become a norm because even because of organizational demand, if you go to job description, you just see so many requirements, and you want to be competitive as well. So it means even people that are trying to get into data engineering are getting overwhelmed. Even professionals are getting overwhelmed in terms of having to learn many things, many tools, many skills. Having to wear multiple hats. So it's data engineering just seems to be that's although it has its own advantage in terms of it gives leverage, because if you want to transition, you can easily transition to different roles. But again, it can be overwhelming if not properly managed. So how do we make that balance as an individual, even though we know that it's an organizational problem, but we can't influence organizational problem. We can only influence our own decision and our own approach. So how do we make that balance as a data engineer of not becoming overwhelming?
That's where mentors become very important, right? Look at people who have done this very well. Know your options. Know your options. Where you can change it, where you can say, I'm a data analyst, I shouldn't be doing this. Can we get a data engineer? If you can influence it, you are lucky, right? Go ahead and try to push it. Where you cannot, that's where tools are going to help you, because tools will tend to plug you in and you start moving immediately. The real way to solve it is to have leadership around data. If you are a fairly data-driven organization, or an organization that depends heavily on data, one of your first hires should actually be a head of data, right? Somebody that actually understands how these things work. It is this person that will now bring in the different guys who are needed and coordinate them. Unless this is solved from an organizational standpoint, HRs we keep writing all those funny all those funny JD that
I saw one JD that is requesting for, is it 15 years of airflow experience? I'm like, when was this even released?
Like Changana will
airflow was
tell
released
you,
2014. You are asking for 15 years of experience in airflow.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense. They do copy and paste. For me, any JD that comes out, I want the team lead to put together the JD. It does two things. One, the team lead knows exactly what we need, and he knows a way to figure out when we have found the skills that we need. HRs are people managers, right?
Yeah.
Some headhunters do better, but sometimes I think that HRs are people who hire talent. I don't think they really are. They manage the talent in a company internally.
Okay. So all this one I'm asking are questions submitted by people ahead of this conversation. So Another person is asking, why is it so difficult to get data engineering internship and entry-level position in Nigeria?
Is it?
Why is it so difficult to get data engineering internship and entry-level position in Nigeria?
Yeah, I heard it clearly. I was actually
Oh,
putting the question back to you. Is it? Maybe.
okay.
So, yeah, I think, again, the way you get these things is being visible, right? I know a number of places. Well, I don't know, so you don't bombard me after this, right? Yeah, I get those requests from time to time, right? Can we get an intern for this, for that, for that? Yeah, there are fewer opportunities out there, but sometimes you don't get this opportunity because you don't ask, right? I like those guys that come to my DM and say, please, I'm looking for an internship. I can do this, do that, do that. Do it, you'll be surprised, right? Especially if you are not, when you now get internship, you say, how much am I going to be paid? You start doing this and all that and all that. Getting in takes some sacrifice, right? And that's why you need to start early enough when you are still doing eating mama thank you, right? Use that time to put in the work, let people know you, and before you know it, you start making demands for what you want. And I think it's just a matter of time you start making demands.
Okay. Okay. So you don't agree it's difficult, right? In summary, you don't agree it's difficult.
It's more difficult when you don't have a network that you work with. But the truth is, the opportunities are far in between today, and even more people are getting into the career path. So it's even going to get tougher. But you will get through if you know people. You are in networks. For example, joining your team. For example, I'm sure people who find openings will always share it in groups like that. Okay, I have the WhatsApp group, for example, for every ask that comes to me, I put it in there. So the more you stay close to people who do exactly this type of thing, the tendency that you are going to hear about one, and you'll be part of people who try to get in.
Okay, nice. I like the way you approach it. Not admitting it's difficult. So I think people need to just have that mind shift from believing it's difficult to believing that it's possible, because there are people getting into it. So it's actually possible, not difficult. And you just have to strategize, by building your network, as you mentioned, visibility, making yourself visible, so that some opportunity you don't even know exists can come to you naturally. So I agree with you. So I think you just have to have that mind shift, because if you believe it's difficult, then it will be difficult truly. But if you believe it's possible, then it becomes possible for you. So I think to that person that asked the question, I believe you'll be able to do justice. So another person is asking, how can we transition to data engineering? So just to give you a background, I think this person might be talking in regards to maybe person is currently a data analyst or doing something else of data and want to transition to data engineering.
If team data analysts pick up these tools and start doing data engineering stuff, right, become a data analytics engineer, right? I mean, that's one thing you could do. If you want to do engineering in data engineering, learn a programming language. There's no two ways about it.
Okay, so that's for those that are not into data at all. Maybe someone that is a pharmacist, for example, that has not done anything data.
Learn a programming language, right? You might think you want to do data engineering. You might find data engineering very boring. But if you have learned a programming language like Python, for example, you find out that you can, instead of being a data engineer, become, say, a data scientist, a backend engineer, an automation engineer. So it suddenly opens up opportunities for you if you learn a programming language.
Okay. So I think that's clear for those that are open to transition. So I think the starting point is to learn a programming language. So another question is, for a junior, mid, and senior role, what should be the expected pay range?
I knew that was again. Unfortunately, I don't have a direct answer for you. Organizations, it depends on where you are working out of. For example, if someone is looking to someone doing exactly the same thing you are doing for Jaguar Land Rover, and you are trying to earn what you are earning there somewhere in Nigeria. I mean, it's a pipe dream. It doesn't work that way. So, and I will tell you honestly, I struggled with it, and maybe I still struggle with it. Trying to know how much should you be paid. Do your research, right? What's around it? It doesn't always help to say what do data engineers get paid in Nigeria. Even in Nigeria, two data engineers at two different companies earn drastically different amounts. So you are not alone being confused. So many people are confused, and the way things are set up, we are at a disadvantage because no job openings come with the the range that things should be paid. But we are in Lagos. I'm in Lagos, for example. Okay, yeah, maybe around East Africa or something like that at certain points. What I've seen is that there are three levels of it: a year and less of experience. As far as I'm concerned, you're an intern, right? Full of opportunities. You could go here or there. You are usually condemned to what interns get from the company you're working at. I mean, an intern at an intern at Microsoft can actually earn way more than a senior engineer somewhere in Lagos or somewhere in Nairobi. I mean, that's just what it is. I wanted to realize that so that when you get to know about what someone is paid, a number of things go into it, the environment and stuff like that. So less than a year, you're mostly an intern. Most companies have an amount they pay interns just to keep them going. Between 0 and 3 years, I mean, you are mostly an associate, so to say. What I see for data engineers is in Naira, I see between 250, which is something to cry about, and somewhere around 450. That's what I tend to see. With inflation, I don't know where it is now. For when you are working with a bigger company, so to say, I've seen in USD anywhere between 1,500 and 2,500. Now, when you get to 3 years plus, that's when things get interesting, right? So keep building your skills. That's when you start making some demands, so to say. If you're in an organization, you tend to see how you can go up. So 3 years up, I see between 450 and 950. Some courageous ones in Nigeria actually pay you up to 1 point something gross, right? Million. And for the guys who are a little big, you might start seeing between 2,500 and 3,500 USD. So these things vary. This is around our own climb, right? If you go to Europe, don't take that thing from them. I mean, you know that.
Biz go tell you now.
I mean, bills will just break your legs. Yeah, exactly. Or you're earning like you're earning 3K here, earning 25 USD a month. You change it to Naira, you're the big boy in town.
You can even contest with chief of your village.
I'm telling you, and then you carry that in and jabba until we hit you like a hammer. So I mean, this is experience. Speak to your guys, right? For those of us who are no longer in Nigeria, I mean, be real with your guys. Don't tell us all these stories about how you pluck money there. I mean, help us so that when we are coming, we'll help ourselves.
I think I like the way you break it down, because some people need to manage expectation as well, and I don't blame some people, because some people have sold that juicy salary expectation to some people, which is not realistic. I mean, for someone that started, for example, yes, I mean, you are just starting. What should be paramount to you is you want to learn, you want to gain experience. You can start demanding, can start demanding later, but you see people, just starting, but the eyes on the money, and that's because what I've sold to them, that I just need to learn this thing. Within 6 months, you can start earning millions now.
Exactly. I mean, it's not always like that.
It's not always like that. Yeah.
You can get there.
Yeah, some are getting it. Yeah.
Yes. Many actually. The thing there are no senior engineers in Nigeria. That's not true. It's simply they are not paid well, and so many offshore opportunities with the remote culture is taking a lot of engineers, especially from, say, our commercial banks. It's very funny.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's really funny. So moving on quickly, we are running out of time. So this person is asking how to break into data engineering space in Nigeria as a junior data engineer with intermediate knowledge but no professional experience. So maybe this person has been doing some learning, self-learning, and is able to use some tools and skills, maybe Python, SQL. I mean, just to give a background, but no professional experience. Maybe person has not worked with any organization before. So how can this person break into data engineering?
Yeah, I think I brought up something about data engineering and software engineering as a whole. A lot of practice. If you leave it, it might tend to leave you, and new technologies coming on will make you feel like you've lost it. Now, the other thing is, I will still go back to it. Be around people who can show you opportunities. There's really no magic one towards that. Ask questions, knock on doors, show what you can do. There's an Igbo adage that says, I mean, I don't even know what it is actually, but if you're naked and somebody is trying to rescue you, I mean, where do they hold you? It's very difficult. But if you
Yeah.
have some clothes, I mean, we can grab you somewhere on your clothes, I mean, and stuff like that. So make yourself useful, right? People will see you. It takes time, but people will see you. Show up, join groups, show what you can do, provide solutions, go and teach people. Exactly. That's actually what I see becoming very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Go to academies, offer to help people to learn, right?
Mm.
It does to you. People know you,
Yeah.
and these students will ask you stuff you don't even know, right? You
Yeah.
are forced to go and learn it, and that's how you make yourself better. So it gets
Yeah.
you known, and you also challenge
Yeah.
yourself to know actually what you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with your last statement. I think one of the main motivation for even starting this data engineering webinar series within the community is to encourage people, to present. I mean, come up with something. You'll be forced to learn that way. Then you build yourself presentation skills. Be able to explain things to people, and that way also selling yourself out because there is no way we are going to be having a webinar. We won't put it up on LinkedIn that this person is teaching us this thing in the community. So those are the ways, to kind of set yourself apart. You are building yourself at the same time while also helping people to learn. I agree with you. So I think you just have to keep doing well and be prepared for opportunity. So if you are prepared when opportunity comes, it meets us prepared. This person is asking, what is the one skill you think beginners usually don't focus on that you feel is very valuable in the data engineering workspace?
The basics. You always
Hmm.
think once you, after printing Hello World, you go to import pandas. No, please don't do that. Learn the data structures for the language you're starting with, right? Know what your strings are. That might sound very stupid at this point, right? If you already learned them. Strings, inbuilt data structures like lists, sets, dictionaries, how to interact with them. And let me tell you, the biggest solutions still employ these basic data structures. It's about
Mm-hmm.
lists, arrays in JavaScript. It's about your dictionaries and objects in JavaScript. That's what makes you solve stuff. Somebody like me, if you look at my code base, the only object-oriented part of things you are going to see, okay, because I'm a scripting language person, I'm not a C or Java person who is a class by default, so to say. You see mostly functions. So in what you don't want to give up is the basics. Learn the basics. Don't rush to machine learning where you start importing pandas. Anytime your mind is telling you import pandas, tell the spirit to calm down small, right? Do the basics. If you leave the basics at pandas, you will come back down to learn it, and you see that you wasted your time.
Nice, nice, nice. Good insight there. So the fundamentals are very important. I mean, don't just rush. You want to start, you just pick up a tool without even having the fundamental knowledge. Some people don't even, I mean, don't let us go there. But I mean, I think we got the message. The fundamental is very important. I always, send the message across, evangelize this, that fundamental is very important. Tools will come and go. The fundamental will remain. Airflow is just Python under the hood, nothing else. The
Yeah.
hood is so the fundamentals will be there. So just make sure your fundamental is very strong. Then you can adapt easily, you can evolve easily. You don't have to break your head before you can, learn the fundamentals of cloud. It doesn't matter if you learn AWS or GCP, just learn the fundamentals of cloud. Then you can, move across platform as you want, as the demands require. So I agree with you on that. So yeah, I hope the person has gotten the expected feedback. So this person is asking, have you seen a lot of use cases for streaming data processing? Are there stream processing problems that you found can be solved a different way?
The second one, no. If the solution is going to be streaming, there's usually there's another way to do it, right? Another crafty way to do it, which big tech are actually doing, right? I used to be in this data engineering team, although I eventually left. So think about it. Imagine you didn't have to move your data. The average data engineer will not even think about it. Imagine you didn't have to move your data. You have to work from source without actually still disturbing your transaction systems, right? Your core transaction system. Having a copy of your database that is available to you, just play on that thing, right? No moving of anything. You now ask yourself, if you're not about it, you now ask yourself, why are we not doing that? Why are we insisting on moving it from somewhere to the other? And that's where I tell you that if your analysts are writing SQL, something is off somewhere. So if you find out that you need streaming, you are probably going to need streaming. There's not much you can do. When do you know that you need streaming? When you need fresh data. When, if you get information about something changing 30 minutes later, Wahala don't bust already. Stream is coming.
Yeah. So, and I think from this question, what I also sense as a question that this person is asking is, I mean, even though we have batch and streaming, I mean, for Nigeria, for example, or even generally, most data processing pattern is still batch. So I think person is just trying to know if you've seen a lot of use cases for streaming, because you see people even learn about streaming just going through some self-learning, and they never apply it in the organization or to do real world application.
Yeah, so most organizations will not need a streaming system, right? Especially if you don't support something that moves, right? That's why I said if you find out that when you become aware of an event 30 minutes later, if you want to know of an event like up to 30 minutes early, as soon as it happens, you want a stream pipeline. So if you are doing, for example, if you're in transportation, for example, logistics, and the truth is, you will hardly find any organization that needs stream processing across all the data pipeline. No. Find the system that needs fresh data. For logistics, for example, if you have a request system, somebody needs to know when the requests are coming in, when they're being treated and stuff like that. That's a classical need for you to stream. If you have devices, IoT devices that communicate here and there, and somebody needs to be aware, for example, in a hospital, to figure out whether, for a live dashboard for a patient, for example, you need that in 2 minutes, you're even late, somebody could die already, right? So those are the things that tell you whether you need streaming or not. And like I said, even where you need streaming, it's usually on parts of your system. It's not always all the system. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for doing justice to that. Moving very fast. Yeah. What is your opinion on the frequent releases of new and modern data engineering stack technologies that abstract core engineering activities from the...
It's like this one. This person knows me. I think we have discussed this at length, right?
Yeah, you have discussed this. Yeah, we have discussed this. Yeah, you should know. You know your opinion now. So this person is asking, what's data engineering application in fintech today? Financial tech. What are the application of data engineering
Everywhere now.
In fintech.
Transactions going up and down. So this is where you might actually, fintech will be where you might actually have a lot or a significant streaming need, right? If you have a system that has to monitor for fraud, for example, if you pick up fraud 1 hour later, maybe they don't move 1 billion already. It's too late.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fintech has a lot of use case for data engineering. Transactions are happening several thousand by the second, depending on how big it is. So data engineering should be a very big thing for any fintech.
Okay. So I think before we move on to the chat on these teams, the last one is how can I automate the reporting process of a startup? I think this person is a report automation engineer. How can I automate the reporting process of a startup? Do you have anything, or you just move on?
Take what you're proficient at, and that's what will help you. So let's say you want to automate some reports. Do you have a data warehouse already? Have data engineers moved things out for you or not? That's what, let's presume they have. Then pick the tool that you are most efficient at, right? And that a company can afford. Power BI, Tableau, Click, whatever it is, Looker, QuickSight, and stuff like that. Pick what you are best at. That's the one you are going to move fastest with. Because at the end of the day, just like you said around the cloud, they're all doing the same thing, calling them different names, slightly different way of approach. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think we're having an interesting conversation, but we have some messages for you on the chat. Sorry, we are taking your time. I mean, anytime we have someone, we always want to squeeze knowledge out of people. So pardon us for taking. Yeah. So we just love to learn. Don't mind us. So in the chat now, on this call chat, so someone is saying these data movements by data engineers finally load their data into a data store. So where do the database administrators and database developer come in?
Yeah, I think there's always that confusion, right? The database administrator actually takes care of the transaction database, right? That's what I traditionally see them doing. A data engineer should be proficient enough to build his store, his warehouse, whether it's warehouse or small or not, optimize it, for example, where they need to, put in the models that analytics can just plug into and go straight out. So database administrators, the way I know them, usually work on transaction systems. They make sure they're up, they make sure they are well provisioned, the backups are there and stuff like that. So, but if you find a database administrator also administrating a data warehouse, I think it will cause more confusion there because data warehouses need very specific ways of keeping things that
Yeah.
data administrators are just not used to.
Okay. Fair enough. So I think the same person is asking who optimizes the data store for the data analyst and scientists to easily read and analyze data. I think you've answered that. Who optimizes the data store? Yeah.
So a simple thing you could do, for example, on Redshift could make you very proficient, get very fast results. If you have the right indexes around where you are always grouping by, you can suddenly save cost and increase efficiency so much. I mean, something that an analyst would never think of, so to say, and just going to do select all, right? Analyst knows, or the scientist knows just to query, but the engineer who is good at what they do will actually know that if I'm always going to sort by a particular column, I need an index of that column, for example. That's efficiency. This is when you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there is this before I go on, there is this conversation we had in the community sometimes the last 2 weeks about who is responsible to ensure data is clean between data engineer, data scientist, and a data analyst. What's your opinion on that?
So mostly it's going to be mostly on the data engineer, right? The data engineer is trying to is at the start of the pipe. So data engineer opens things up, and the analyst and the data scientists consume them. What you see is if it's working well, that process goes round, right? Further back into the start of it. Analysts will tell you, oh, we're always having to, convert the date time and stuff like that. Can we have it better, right? So you don't need to go and start doing funky SQL on the analysis side of things. Tell your data engineer, he will pick it up and correct it for you, right? Make it simpler for you. I mean, data analysts have such a critical role to play, right? We shouldn't distract them a lot. And if you're a data analyst, you can't do data engineering, don't feel bad. That's not what you should be doing, right? Do that. What you do is like one of the most public-facing stuff, right?
Yeah.
But data engineers are those guys who are putting up the fire from the back. Nobody ever knows. So what I'm saying is that quality is most often going to be with data engineer, but you can't stop there. Analysts and scientists and down and lower in the pipeline need to funnel in what's going wrong to the data engineers so that they can correct it, and it keeps going around that way.
Nice. Good approach. Yeah, I think that sums up the argument. So someone has a question, but it's a very long one. So we want to give people chance to also ask that question directly now. So the floor is open, but I think the person to go first is Temidayo Money because the question is long, and I think it will be better if you can articulate it yourself and ask directly. Yeah. So Temidayo, can you unmute yourself?
Okay. Good evening. Can you hear me? Audible?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Pastor. Nice one, and also Solomon, thanks for the section. Okay, so I've been following Pastor for some time now, and I've actually studied him in person. Okay, so for someone like me, my question is kind of long, so I have to write it down. So for someone like me, right, working as a consultant and also as for a consulting company, I kind of find myself doing multiple roles. When I mean multiple roles, I find myself building pipelines, doing pipeline both on-premise and cloud and everything, also writing C#, doing so many other things. So now, one thing I've noticed, and I feel Pascal should correct me because I do a lot of data migration from both different databases, also to the cloud and everything, and also real-time IoT and the rest. So I want Pascal to kind of correct me. So for someone like me, I tend to find tools more efficient. Scripts, to me, is faster. But most times when I use scripts, it does everything at once, and that's with either SQL script or using stored procedure SQL or writing Python code. It's faster, right? But it's not as efficient as I want it to be in terms of it tends to miss out things like is either it doesn't copy some particular data or it just truncates some things and I won't even know until I've done all the migration the when we start doing the changing of apps and connection stream, we start finding that oh the thing we thought that we've completed is not completed. So we have to now start using third-party tools like Tenant, Bytes, and some maybe SSIS or maybe ADF. So my own kind of thoughts of because I've been doing this thing for some time now. So one thing I've seen is I tend to see scripts going fast, like really, really fast, right? But tools are like they're not as fast as you want script to be, but they're more efficient. They tend to do the whole pushing, they tend to do the whole yeah. When it comes to complex transformation, I tend to like opt for Python, yeah, because you can't use data flow to do data flow to do the necessary transformation you want. So I just feel you should like tend to like correct me because for me now, I'm now using more of tools like lately because of it's like doing all the things I want to do. And maybe because I'm working for a consulting firm, we tend to like want to push for tools more because money and everything you get. So now you saying Python, do everything from Python. Yeah, everything from Python is cool, but things like let me give you an instance, right? When it comes to things like using of integration runtime or gateway, right? Python has its own limitation there, right? So you have to have third-party tools or let me say I'm pulling data from an FTP, pushing it to the cloud and stuff like that. Python definitely has some limitation because it's like I can't do everything purely on Python. But yeah, Python will still come in. So I just don't know. I just feel like maybe you should correct me because for me now, right? I think I'm seeing myself more as a tool person now. I know I've gotten people like Ahmed, you have also you also Ahmad it online a lot of time. I've got people like Ahmed also tell me that I should be more focused on. I know the fundamentals has always been SQL and Python, right? Which I have it in my package right now. But the kind of for me as a consultant, I'm working as for a consulting company, right? The kind of problem we face different problems. Different clients want different solutions, right? I don't see Python just on a personal note, I don't see Python solving all the problem for me. Like Python, I'm actually currently working on some. I can't really say it out right now, but I see tools doing it for me right now. That and I find myself doing it because I'm writing SSI. Next, I see myself doing .NET framework. I see myself writing C#. I'm like, oh god. I find no, and yes, I think I asked the question one day that I feel like at this point right now, I feel like I'm becoming more of a software engineer, not even a data person, because literally now it's like I don't know. I just feel so. That's the question. I just feel you should just correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm just. If there's something I'm actually missing, which I'm not still getting at the moment.
No,
and thank
I
you again
don't
for this
think,
section.
yeah. I don't think you are wrong, right? Again, back to the very first story I talked about, that going from mile 2 to Oshodi, a number of things come into it, right? You probably that means since I've been talking here, you have been under pressure, right? It's not bad to use to. It's not bad to use to. Don't worry about it. Don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. My position is if it's working, you are good, right? If it's working, you are good. What I will just chip in, what I will just challenge you to do just on the side is sometimes try to figure out the cost you are racking up, right? Don't change anything you are doing. Just try to get visibility into the cost of the things you are doing. Probably you do this for big companies, it's not much of an issue for them. And again, you find out that the bigger it gets, the more you might want to use tools. And when you say tools are not in the air. Tools are written with something, right? Just look at the base. What is it written with? You find out it's still a programming language, right? So if you find tools working for you, keep using the tools, especially when you come to a company that already has some tools. I mean, you'll be wasting your time and everybody's time trying to tell them to build. Building takes more time, building takes more skills, and building needs patience because you have to test it and stuff like that. So it's the opportunity is not always there to build, but if I have the opportunity, I will build because it's cheaper, it's more bespoke. I shouldn't be saying cheaper first, right? Cheaper is always second for me. Efficiency is first, and when you get to efficiency, you try to adjust it. So always remember mile 2 to Oshodi. On a crowded day, your best bet is to walk. Because if you remember people going, it's end of a walk, you drove to the office, you are going home, you go through the easy part, very easily. People who are working will still come and say bye-bye, right? They pass you. So your conditions will say what you are going to use. So don't feel bad if you're using tools. Tools still work.
Yeah, I think I understand the Midayo's plight. You know, for consultants, I mean, I was working in a consultancy organization back in Nigeria. So, and you know, for consultants, because you are dealing with customer, you don't necessarily have that time, luxury of time, and that understanding to tell them, no, I'm building, and they understand they want it and they want it now. So, they want something very fast.
Let me give you an example. You really don't have to be very slow, right? It's just like I said, there's a high premium on the scale to do it. I've come to a situation where 2 consultants have failed it. I came in, I solved it with script. So maybe consultants, maybe that's what we have become comfortable with, right? If you bring me in such a situation, I will do 2 things. I will keep with your tools. I'll keep doing it, get you the functionality, the effectiveness of it, get you the price of it, and me by the side will be instrumenting it. And when I finish, I show you. This thing is show work, right? That's why I've told certification and all these things are not much. I will show you that you run this. I've run this in parallel. For example, I told you I built something that was costing $1,500. I didn't need any person to tell me. I had to redo it, right? So take it as a consultancy that's the 1.5, and you just finished it. You demonstrate it that this thing is costing you 100. Just tell your CTO, you see what will happen. You are changing
it. Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I hope that answers your question. You just have to be strategic about it. Don't feel bad about tools. I mean,
yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's fine. So you just have to weigh your options and go for the best thing that suits your approach. So, in the chats, when you say data analyst, when you say data analyst, don't need to write SQL. Were you confusing data analyst to business intelligence person? Oh, I think this person is not getting your.
No, I understand why he asked that, right? And that's one of the challenges in data, right? Data analyst, we have so many names for people who play in that second section of data, so to say. As far as I'm concerned, there are 3 sections. You are data engineering, you are analysis, or you are data science, where you do research and predictive, prescriptive, and all that. If you're not a data engineer, you're not a data scientist. For me, you are an analyst. Whether you call yourself a data analyst, business intelligence analyst, and all those things. I know that people don't buy it that much, right? But I keep saying that if your analyst needs, okay, it's not want. If your analyst needs to write SQL to get their data, the data isn't coming well. I think it's as simple as that. You might want to write. I mean, let's say you have a dashboard to present, or you have some story to tell with your data. That is the core thing you want to do.
Yeah.
You need to have a table, a view, or whatever you tap in and do that. If you are having to write SQL, they are distracting you. They have made it such that we all believe that a data analyst should now even go and find his own data. That's how you have 1,000 different sources of truth, right? If it's from a single source of truth, you have less confusion in your stack. That's my general knowledge and experience around it.
Okay, I hope this person is satisfied. Victory rather. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Najeeb and Pascal. Thank you very much for this meeting. I just want to add to what, or should I say, like what Pascal just talked about now concerning a data analyst, that they're not supposed to write a SQL. I think I need to disagree here. Because now, as a data engineer, like you said earlier, you're moving data from different data sources from all sorts into a central location, right? Now, like I asked the question for the optimization of that central location, which you said a data engineer should continue handling. Now, you're moving data, and most of this data you're moving there from some sources, which are probably mostly relational databases. Now, you're moving from maybe table to table, or probably trying to join some tables to form a particular database objects that will sit on a final data store. Now, as a data analyst, there's a problem, there's a business process that it needs to visualize. Now, before you can visualize that, you can make sense of that particular business process. I believe the data analyst is supposed to look at the database, look at the different tables, that can give you the kind of results that you're supposed to visualize. So for you to do that, you have to write queries to join 1, 2, or 3 tables, or probably just a table for you to visualize. So for me, I think they still need to write, no matter the kind of data that the data engineers, even the kind of model, whether your dimensional modeling or your facts, whatever you have for your data warehouse, they are sitting on different tables. So there's likelihood that you're going to join 1 or 2 tables to give you a particular business process that you intend to visualize. So for me, I think, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, we're all here to learn. I think they still need that SQL query and that SQL skills, no matter the kind of data that the data engineers are generally put in place on that central location. That is just so. For me, I think, the data analyst still needs that SQL script to be able to do some kind of mining on the data that the data engineers have actually provisioned on that central location, so that he or she can actually visualize. Like the other guy said, that's my own take for that. Like the other guy said, Python is very key. If he knows how to use Python very well, that issue that he's having, I believe he can resolve it with Python. Because from I've seen a lot of, especially SIS packages, lot of pipelines built using SIS packages. Some of them can be messy, can be crazy. But one thing I've seen so far, when you write your Python scripts to build your pipelines, it can be managed easily by somebody from somewhere else that knows how to just know how to write Python. You will understand the process, whatever existing pipeline you built using Python, and the person can continue from there. Some of these tools that you have, yes, they are good, they're very effective, but they can be messy at times. They can cause some pains, serious pain. But if you write, because I'm a C# person, I'm also a data analyst, I do some kind of stuff too. So if you know how to use your Python or your C#, you can manipulate some things, all the FTP or whatever you can cut across, so that's my take for the other one. So, but the first one, like I said, I think a data analyst should have that skills to join tables, to visualize a personal business process. That's just my take. Thank you very much. You guys are doing great. I love you guys. I'm still here with you. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, and I know that that view of mine has been very, very problematic, right? For people, so I'm not even surprised. Okay, so hopefully we'll have another time to speak about it, right? But I would have loved to hear a proper situation where these things happen, right? You're a data analyst, you use primarily, say, Power BI. So where do you write the SQL, right? And you might find that you tend to, so now we are now giving access to the analyst to write SQL on the warehouse, right? One, you now introduce, if you have 5 analysts, they will write 5 different SQL type of expressions trying to get the same thing, right? You start bringing confusion into what metrics are. What does active client mean? 2 different analysts will write 2 different things. They will tend to write 2 different things. That's very right. But if they all come together, that's why I said this thing flows 360. If they all come together and see that they are needing to join this and that, you need a view, right? That's the model you're talking about. Tell your engineer to create a view for you. You do what we need to do. You would do analysis, you do exploration, you do all those things. When you find things that need to change, you need to change it at the source, right? So that anytime it's coming out, if there's a view that calculates who is active, it's a single source, not 5 analysts having it. So analysts know how to write SQL and all that, but my experience is that if you're having to write SQL as a core part of what you are doing, your pipeline is not working well, right? I'm not saying don't know it. If you know it, that even gives you an advantage to easily switch into being a data analyst. The bigger the company, the more you run the risk of having several sources of truth. A matrix being calculated in 3, 5, 10 different ways, and you only see the disaster when wahala don't bust. But if you unify it and bring it in through a single place, it becomes a single source of truth, well optimized, and it keeps improving. Data engineering pipeline does not have to be static, just like any solution. It doesn't get to finish. Get things you need to change, improve it. It's a 360 movement.
Thank you so much. So I think it's clear.
Yeah, very, very clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
one more. Please don't get offended.
Please, let's make it snappy.
So, very snappy, very snappy. No, there is an experience I had some times back. When I'm moving my data, when my pipeline runs, at times they tend to be slow, even though they're moving large amount of data. But at times, I've actually come to realize that at times, so your pipeline might be running very fine, but when your data store that is absorbing the data, when the tables are so large, or probably there's contention on that table, some other queries, other third-party applications, and accessing that data store, that central or data warehouse, and you're pumping in data, there's tendency that your data, your pipeline will be slow. I don't know whether you've experienced that. So in that situation, what do you do? Do you stop processes from accessing data on the data store because I've seen like hundreds of, pipelines, ETLs scheduled to be running from mid. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think, sorry to cut you off. I think I see where you're going. It's always
okay, good.
It's always a situation, right? The issue is the architecture is faulty. That's number one. There's a reason why we have data warehouses, right? These guys. So when you talk of a warehouse, there are two components. You're talking about storage and you're talking about compute, right? People who go to data warehouses who are designed for data warehouses, I mean, that's why they go there. And that's one of the things about knowing the basics. A real data warehouse gives you that flexibility. I don't know whether you're aware, Redshift, Azure, Redshift, Synapse, and BigQuery.
Okay.
You know that if you write a query to bring back up to 1 gig of data, if you run the same total time as if you want to drag just 1 MB, right? So if you find that's what the average person doesn't get to know, right? They'll think that, so big data warehouse gives you that bigger capacity so that simple push and shove that you give it will not make it fail. And that's why transaction systems are now going to SQL. They are taking or putting small things, but very fast. So no SQL system gives you that opportunity to be very fast. Data warehouses have large compute power, right? That's why you can query for like a whole table and you are fine. Why something is still writing at that table? I mean, if you don't have any problem of latency around it. So if you find yourself battling with that, you need to check your infrastructure again. And again, it's probably people who have inefficient SQL queries, right? The best person you will find that will write the best queries for you would tend to be data engineers. All these select all, no optimizations, no indexes. I mean, Najeeb, you know that very simple optimizations, just putting an index, making an index in a particular column can drastically change the game, right?
Yeah,
and as an analyst, this is not your job. They're distracting you. By the time you finish all those things, you can't even tell the data that we want you to tell. So know your SQL, but it could become a distraction at a point. That's just what I'm saying.
Thank you very much, Pascal. I think I understand because this thing is on-prem, not in the cloud. So it's a one system processing a lot of things. It's on-prem, not in the cloud. Yes, we also have a database process. So maybe there might be the challenges you are talking about. Thank you very much. That's a good one.
Scaling up and stuff, yes.
Yeah.
And that's the visibility. Check what's taking time. Are there queries? Check your query. What do you do when you want to see how your query performed, right? Know where the bottlenecks are. Know where you need indexes. Know where you need to deserialize or denormalize, and where you need to normalize and stuff like that. They are the little things that make difference. Who is the better system manager? What is the better architecture and stuff like that? Know what's taking time. See whether there's something you can do about it, and just optimize.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's one thing about on-premise. There's always this issue of performance because you can only scale up. You can't scale horizontally. So once the resources is used up, you just have to bear the consequence. Yeah.
I know most financial organizations, some of them, they are reluctant to take their financial data to the cloud. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Right.
pure.
Yeah.
If you can get me to a bank, then you can probably hang me. All the banks that say, I don't like you guys. I mean,
That's
you have to
that's
write
where
a whole thing
that's where I work.
why you should
That's where I
go
work.
out. Okay, sorry, I understand.
It's
just
fine.
manage the best way you can. Yeah.
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 Thank you.
But I think it gets to a point where they will not have choice actually. But let's move on. Shagun, please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Pascal, and good evening, Najeeb. Thank you for this meeting. I've been following Pascal for quite a while on LinkedIn, and I can say I'm your fan. I read most of what you post on LinkedIn, and I follow you back to back, bumper to bumper. So I would like to say I've been working with data for, I would say, for 3 years now, and I think I got my big break last year, late last year. In my current role, like when we're speaking about data analyst and data engineer, so I got enlisted as a data analyst, but I found myself doing data engineering first because I think, not I think, I became the one and only data person in the organization. So I inherited database, and I think at that point, as of last year, the company just got enrolled on a new business application. And I think in my first few months, I struggled a lot because there was no one on ground to take me through the databases, the tables. So I had to go through the tables, the database, understanding myself before plugging my model into Power BI. I think I had to write a lot of SQL queries. So when you were talking that, I think there were instances you were saying that as a data analyst that you do not have business writing SQL queries for companies whereby you are working with companies that do not have a data engineer. So, and you have to become the engineer first before becoming a data analyst. And I think at the long run, my goal is to become a data engineer. So I want to ask, what advice would you give to me, and what track do you think I can follow? That's my question.
Number one, you're not alone, right? Most people will start as data analysts, and when you are thrown into that wild of the company, you find out there is no data, and you are forced to do this, right? I remember one of the biggest. You will find out that analysts who feel they need to write SQL are probably in a company where they are doubling as data engineers and data analysts, and they're paying you as a data analyst only, right? It's very sad you see that happening. So you're not alone. It happens a whole lot. Because when you come in, you don't start analysis in the end. You have to have that data. Then you now start to look at where you are going to start to, what you're going to do to get the data. Now, as an analyst, I see that you have a low-hanging fruit using tools, right? Go for the tools, get them working. These guys don't care that data, maybe I shouldn't say they don't care. They don't quite know that you need the data to be there for you to even do analysis. So if you keep telling them, give me a data engineer, they are not responding. The next thing, their summary is that this guy don't know what he can here do, right? So that's just it, right? So you are forced to go and start doing some stuff. If you have all the time and you are lucky, try to learn a programming language so you can script stuff. For analysts, it's usually a little uphill task. So maybe your best bet immediately is to go after the tools, right? Get the tools, know the basics of what they are doing. If you find the time, try to see whether you can use a programming language to help yourself. But if you start as a software engineer, you see that it becomes easier for you to handle because you can naturally get into it. And just off the topic just a little, one of the things we didn't talk about here is what could make a data engineer's life hell, right? That is not part of their making. It is the core engineering system. Be good friends with the engineering team who produce this stuff, because your data pipeline might be so good that it can power heaven's data pipeline, and one engineer wakes up tomorrow and thinks that column X should now be Y and Y is X. Suddenly I'm calling you by 12 p.m. in the night, right? So there are things you just can't control as a data engineer, You should build the relationships, become aware of what the upstream is doing. Try anywhere I am, I try to make data engineering become part of system architecture for core engineering. Let them advise, let them show stuff. As far as the core engineer is concerned, he's going NoSQL. He wants to just carry that thing, dump into the database, even if they're nested inside the nested stuff. Data engineer, you can go and help yourself. So that's one of the biggest things you can. I just thought to bring that up now that I know that probably we are coming to the end.
Yeah. I know you can't cover everything. I mean, as much as I want to drill out from you as a teacher, you still cannot cover everything. And you really spent a lot of time, and because you are learning, and it's very much interesting. You didn't even know you spent so much time. So I don't know if anyone have. I mean, is there any question from anyone on the call? Does anybody have? Let me check the charts. Okay, so I think there's no question. So just to round it up, I mean, we spent quite a while. So I'll be asking just a few fun questions. These ones are not technical questions. Just for, I mean, since it's AMA, so you are free to ask me anything now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just technical stuff. Shegun, please mute yourself. So it's not just technical stuff. So now this one is, if you are not in IT, what alternative career will you possibly have? Let's assume you are not in IT. So what will you be doing if you are not in IT?
I actually wanted to be a farmer at a point, and I also wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a farmer when I was going to be a priest, because I didn't want to have to ask you, pay your tithe and all that bullshit, right? Oh, sorry, I'll use it for swear word. So I mean, I want to be able. I was looking for. So if I'm a priest in a parish, I just need to have enough a reasonable expanse of land so I can farm, right? Then I also wanted to be a writer, but I quickly gave that up because I looked around and most writers are just very poor people.
Okay, so farmer, writer. So are you doing any of them by the side now? I think you write at least LinkedIn, you write. But farming,
Yeah,
are you doing anything in farming?
I don't have an opportunity for farming, but hopefully when I grow up, I want to have a farm.
Okay. So we leave it at that. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So if you could master any skill instantly, what would it be? You have the opportunity to master any skill, like now. What would that skill be? Sales. Oh no, we are together.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody, okay, yeah, sales and dancing. I mean, if I'm not moving in a straight line, it looks like I'm going mad. So sales and dancing, and I will not just take sales. I mean, if I can sell anything, mangoes, anything, when you come into my space, I'm able to show you stuff. But that first movement, that first approach, it's like impossible for me, right? So any person that can teach me that, I tell people, if I know how to dance, guy, I will stop in the middle of the road, blast music and dance.
TikTok.
You know how to dance. I mean, you have such a skill that I'm so envious about.
Yeah, TikTok. Yeah, I think sales. I love the fact that you mentioned sales. I think that's one skill I would love to. In fact, if I'm being alternative instantly, because sales is just, oh no. It's a very lucrative skill you can have.
It's the business.
Anything you want to do, revolve
yeah.
around sales.
Yes,
I envy people that are able to master their sales skills. Like, how are you able to do that? Yeah. So okay, thank you for sharing that as well. I know some of these things are personal, but I mean, it's just to make it fun. So, what is the widest or most unusual talent you have that not many people know about? Do you get the question?
To read people. That's actually the very first thing I tried to do. I taught developmental psychology at a point. So the first thing I tried to do is to figure who I'm working with. And because of that, for example, if you do something to me, you don't even need to tell me sorry. Sometimes it's so useless for me, right? I'll see it. I'll figure it out.
Okay, so you can say it's the ability to read people. Okay. All right. So Shegun is raising us, but I just want us to finish this one quickly. It's getting interesting. So now this one, if you were stranded on a desert island and could only bring 3 things, what would they be? Do you get the question?
I don't know whether it's technical or a trick question, but I will bring three things: Python, Python, Python. I know it's
Oh no. You are stranded, for God's sake. Python will not rescue you from one. How you
But I
survive
don't know
on an island with Python only?
Okay, well, exactly. So you see, this one is actually a trick question, right?
You didn't even mention food.
I mean, with Python by my side, I'll make money and buy some stuff. But you said it's an island too. Probably there's nobody there.
Just you and yourself, just yourself alone.
Well, I better not. I kill the imagination and come back home. Yeah.
Okay. Let that fly. So, if you were a superhero, what would your superhero be, and what would your superhero name? So let me take it again. Assuming you are a superhero, what would your superhero be? Sorry, your superpower rather. What would your superpower be, and what would be your superhero name? So what will be called, and what would be your superpower if you are to be a superhero?
I think I had one then. My superhero power will have to be magic, right? I love magic, and magic is just doing the impossible, right? When they've said it's not going to work, I would like to be there. And then my superhero name will have to be Magic Stick.
Magic Stick.
At the point, yes.
Magic Sticks. I think those that plays drums are the one that usually use sticks with their what's it called now? Alias.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Magic Sticks. There to be magic. Okay. So where is the most interesting place you've ever visited, and what made it so memorable?
It's Watamu, right? Watamu in Kenya. Right? It's like those waters you see in Zanzibar, right? Where it's blue, you are seeing the floor getting stuck in the middle of that water somewhere around midnight and stuff. So I would say Watamu so far.
Okay. So what is the most interesting or unusual job you've ever had?
I think they've all been interesting, but which one has been unusual? The one that has been unusual is the one I never had, but I tried to get. I don't know whether you're ready for it, right? So when I'm moving around, I was actually trying to find where I'm going to be a driver, right? So sometimes we forget where we've come from, and we think people just fall off the sky and they are this known or maybe successful, depending on what you call success. But there were times I moved the streets of Abuja trying to find out where I'm going to get a driving job. It was for a specific reason why. Getting a job was hard, even as far back as then. I wanted to do one thing, get to be a driver and show them what I can do. I was convinced that if I got a driver's job, I will show them what I can do, and I will probably get a better job from there. That was what I wanted to do around there.
Days of humble beginnings.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we all have it. We can pretend all we want. Just very few of us we are born with silver spoons in our trust.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So lastly, to round it up, if you could time travel to any era, past or future, where would you go and what would you do?
How do you guys get all these questions? Okay.
Just to make it fun. I mean, no.
Yeah, exactly. I would want to. Maybe I want to go to, when Jesus was around, right? Because that's a practical historic time. Even if all the stories might be fantasy or embellished, right? I actually would like to see how that guy. I was listening to one comedian like that. When he was found in the temple, and they were asking him, I say, you don't know, say, I suppose they're my father's house. Would have loved to see what happened when he went to what Mary did, what the mom she did with him, right? I mean, just to be around to look at something like that would be fun.
Okay. So, but would you believe Jesus then, or you wouldn't believe Jesus? It was hard to believe Jesus then.
I would probably believe Jesus, right? I will probably believe Jesus. Let me not put it in the Nigerian context, or I might be ruffling feathers here, but I feel I will know when a solution has shown up, when you have been in so much in so much mess, right? I believe I will know. What I do with it is a different thing, because I mean it's so very unfortunate that the situation you are in is bad and you see a probable way to get out of it, but some parochial interest or some personal stuff just make you not to go towards it. So I believe I would know. What I do with it, I don't know.
Okay. So thank you. At least you not know that you cherish you want to go back to Jesus time thousands of years ago. I would have expected you to go to the future and see where AI is taking us to.
That's a fun one.
So you can tell us, so that you can die the aspirations now. You guys don't do AI. AI will end the world.
Like Terminator kind of story, right? You know, going to the future, go and catch that guy who made that little advancement that messes everything up by then.
Yeah, I get. So thank you. I think we just end with Shegun's question, then we have to. You can consider our none, because I mean we have you in our midst, but you have to respect your time as well. Shegun, please go ahead.
Okay. Hello. Yeah, I wanted to ask Pascal a question. I mean, this is a 1 in a million opportunity, and climbing the data ladder, climbing the data engineering ladder. I mean, you definitely need someone that face so many audio. So I want to throw it up to Pascal if he is open to having me as a mentee. So that's my question.
You are shooting your shot, so not question.
I mean, one thing I don't like is having an unread message. So if you send me a message on LinkedIn, chances are I will always reply it, like always, even if it takes me up to 2-3 hours, sometimes up to 4 hours. But I tend to answer all my messages. I would tend to run away from saying your mentor or this or that, but I want to believe that I'm always available. If you ask a question, I'm able to answer. I should be able to give you some tips. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Shegun,
Thank you.
You know what to do.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think we've come to the end of it. There is no other question. Just checking the chat to be sure. I mean, on behalf of the entire data engineering community and everyone on this call, and myself personally, I want to, give our special appreciation to you, Pascal Chukwemeka, for honoring our invitation. I mean, for accepting to be in our midst to share your experience, to give us tips and insights. We don't take it for granted, trust me. We really value it. We appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much for your time. We've spent more than 2 hours of your time. You know what that means. We are not paying you for this. So we really appreciate for giving back to us. We sincerely appreciate. On behalf of everyone, we are thankful, we are grateful. And I hope if we call you in the future, you will answer us. I know this is not the end of it. I mean, we still have many things to discuss together and many more knowledge to gain from you. So we sincerely appreciate you. We really appreciate. I don't know how well to thank you than to just tender our appreciations to you. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for, I mean, not holding anything back, being sincere and being open to all the responses you've given to us. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much. I think if you have anything to tell us, if you have any submission to round up, it will be well appreciated. Thank you once again, Pascal.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm always happy being in situations like this. I'm not in a hurry. You have picked a Saturday. Incidentally, there's nothing chasing me today. It's always a pleasure being among young tech people who are moving forward, because I look back, we didn't have these opportunities. And what I will tell us last would be, I mean, I know many people who I've tried to learn this with at one point or the other. We always discuss about starting it, and before we know it, it's 365 days, 1 year, and they've not started. So start now, right? Especially when you haven't taken on responsibilities. Especially if you have not married. You will always want to use marriage with it, because this is one life change that, I mean, changes everything for you, no pun intended, right? When you have your time, do the much you can with it. Don't always insist on what comes back immediately. Come out, show up. That's how you get ahead. You will get a job faster by coming out and people knowing you than by application. Most of the applications you see are formalities. They are just trying to make sure that they publish it, right? So your connections, your network, your peers, go to your mentor last. Don't always, anything is not about your mentor. If you ask them too many questions, they will just try to dodge you, right? And finally, when you are learning, especially data engineering or things around tech, there are 3 steps to ask a question. Tell what you want to achieve, say what you have done that's not working, and if there is a screenshot or stuff like that, bring it in. That's how a community immediately helps you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for that submission. Really appreciate it. Do have a lovely night rest and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you everyone for joining. I mean, we've got to the end of the show. We just have to end. Thank you so much, Pascal, once again. We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye, everyone.